notice that your ability to keep the mind steady, fewer thoughts, is like enhanced, right? So just by adopting that mudra, that posture, and doing this exercise, you'll find that it will begin to train the mind to stay steadier and steadier. What you're really doing is you're overcoming this quality of vikshepa, that constant wavering of the mind. The more you can hold it steady, the more you have a chance to focus on the experience of that silence that is at the core of your being. All right? So this is the core program that we're working with, the Ekagratham. Once you start to master this, every other sadhana that we will work with will become infinitely easier because you have that practice of that focus, right? So when do we do this now in terms of a routine? Attempt to do it at least 2 times a day in the morning before you start any of your sadhanas, and in the evening again before you do your prayer or whatever routine you have. Right, so twice a day, 2 minutes morning, 2 minutes evening. Now in the day, you can also practice this but using a different object. So for example, if you're in your car and you're at a traffic light and it says stop, instead of revving your engine and pumping the brakes, just gaze at the red light and the same thing. Put your tongue at the tip of your upper front 2 teeth, gaze at the light until it changes. Don't forget to move after it's changed. So steadily gaze and use it. So you can use those little instances if you're in a boring meeting, like some of us get into. Very good idea is find yourself a little pebble. Go to the beach, find a little pebble or something that's round. Can be any object, but a pebble works well. Carry it in your pocket, just put it on the desk. And if the meeting is very boring, just do your 2 minutes, you do 4.
He told Dr. Shikhan so that because we had the pub, you do the 12-second meditation at the pub. You carry it on all the time, so you stay at your pub and practice.
You do that if you like. As long as you don't sort of say my nails are bad.
Yeah, no, I just focus on that, but
that's why you need a bit of an amorphous thing. So the flame is good because it doesn't have a form. Although it looks like that, it's plasmatic, it's changing. A pebble doesn't have like any real shape in its own right. The whole idea is to have a point of focus, that's all it is, right? Now, eventually you're going to do this internally, but you must practice this external exercise to get that ability. In time, as you get better and better at it, you don't need the flame. You can do it with anything.
What about the entrepreneurs?
Well, that point that you are putting your awareness is where the tip of the tongue is. That's the point that Swami says you should use. When we do the meditation, we'll show you how to do that by focusing inwardly. Now your focus is outwardly directed, but it is to train the mind in holding itself steady. Right, any questions on this? Right, fairly simple, but as I said, it is the core technique, and the more you invest in it, the more you do it systematically. If you can do it 3 times a day, even better. Right? Say if you're at work at your desk, then just get a little pebble, put it out there. If you can light a candle like that, then do that. And just make sure that your gaze is downwards, not up there. It's tiring to look up. So if it's like downward and maybe at your eye level would be fine, that would work better. Okay. Right, questions on it?
Could you use it for your meditation?
In time you could, but this is the first stage of meditation. If you haven't got Ekagratham, you can't do the rest of the meditation. It's just a waste of time.
the mudra, could you use it in your
Yes, you can do that as well.
The start must just be like 2 minutes. Just maybe just starting when student starts. So 2 minutes at a time.
2 minutes is enough. Remember we said sadhana has to be pleasant and moderate. Right? Don't frustrate yourself by trying to do like 10 minutes and then most of that time is like you're blinking and you're getting, oh God, I can't do this thing. Rather just do 2 minutes, you'll start to see the momentum building up and then it becomes much easier. Right? Just remember, Swami said sadhana must be pleasant and moderate. Don't try, doing more on one day doesn't give you any benefit. It's just consistently training your mind. So if you make the habit and say, right, 3 times a day I'm going to do this. I'll do it at home in the morning, in the evening I'll do it at home. In the day, decide maybe like at 12 o'clock or whatever time you have your lunch. Before that, spend some time doing the Ekagratham. Right? You could do it with a little pebble or any object for that matter. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you know that the principle is to hold your mind steady without blinking, hold your gaze steady without blinking, 12 seconds. Right? If you get to 12 seconds, great, move into the next 12 seconds. So your aim now in the next maybe 3 to 4 months is to get to 12 seconds. You might say, oh, that's easy. Well, try it and see. It's not that easy. Right?
I used to do 1001. We count on. If you use a mantra with Sai
You see, as soon as you start using a mantra or anything else, your mind has to be active. This is the opposite. You are switching the mind off and just holding it steady. Right? So it doesn't need a mantra. That's why I'm saying, although Swami has given this time barrier of 12 seconds, that's only in the beginning. Once you start to get used to it, you just know you have to sustain it as long as you can. Each 12-second cycle will just merge into the next one. You know, if you could sit there and say 3 or 4 minutes later you wake up and you say, wow, I didn't blink. You've done an amazing cycle of that Ekagratham. And that's what you want to aim to do now. Between now and say January, practice to get that ability steady as you can. Right? So now remember that there's a counter thing happening in our lives that's going to distract your mind. It'll make your mind more wobbly. Keeps going over. Can you tell me what will do that? Because now it's going to be the opposite of what you're doing here. So what kind of things will distract your mind, make your mind move to other things? Sorry? Noise. Yeah, excessive noise will do that, definitely. But you're living in a world where there are sounds, so you're trying to find a time when there's a minimal sound. That's why it's good to get up very early in the morning, sort of 4:30, 5-ish. Everything is still quiet to do this thing. It's much easier. Even in your own house, it will be quiet. Okay? Any other things that will disturb the mind, that will agitate the mind? Food. Right? You'll see that if you eat Rajasic food that is overstimulating, very hot, very pungent, very spicy, very salty, very sour, very sweet, the mind will start to do it. Right? Or to be very sluggish. Right? Have you ever noticed after you eat your whole bar of chocolate, how like the brain falls off? Right? That's the opposite effect. It's the overstimulation through sugar, and the brain goes like almost like dead. Okay, you don't want that as well, right? So remember the things you eat. Chocolates will do that. Anything that's got coffee, anything that's got cocoa, spicy foods, pickles, all that will agitate the mind, right? And it's going to show in your practice, by the way. So here you're trying to get this thing straight. You're wondering, why can't I get it right today? The answer will be you've eaten something that's agitating your mind, right? So the sattvic diet, very important adjunct to this technique. You have to start working with them together to keep the mind steady and comfortable. Right? Anything else that will agitate your mind? Television. Right? TV. If you watch the TV, then you'll get like really caught up in everything. And by now, most of you should have stopped watching the news and reading the newspapers. Right? Are you doing that?
Yes.
Yeah. The world still goes on. You never lost out on anything. Right? Because what you're watching there are all the vasanas of other people. All their man jumped in their mind, playing itself out. It's your news, right? And if you're into the celebrity thing, even worse, right? They've got the most rajasic, tamasic minds, and you're feeding off it, so you're going to get polluted. So this is like a bucket. Everybody's putting their junk into your bucket, and you're paying for it, right? So every time you pay DSTV, that's what you're paying for. Add more junk to my bucket. So you need to understand it because everyone is doing it, that doesn't mean it's right. Right? The path that Swami has shown us is not for everyone. Let others do what they want. If you're choosing this path, you know you have to give up certain things, cut out certain things. And the reason is not to deny yourself, it's to keep the mind as pure as possible and to bring it under your control. If your mind is not under your control, it becomes your devil. It's going to give you all the problems, right? There's no devil out there doing anything. Only devil is an uncontrolled mind. Right? Polluted mind is going to do all of this for you. So you have to use this chart as your guidance, right? So what I suggest is you guys should draw this chart out neatly and color it in. Make sure you use colors. And you should know every component of your instrument. Right? By now, by the way, the next month we're going to do a test. See if you know your Ekagratham, what it does, what part does what, and so on. Right? And if you don't get 99 out of 100, then we send you back to kindergarten. Go back to Balvika, start again.
Leave it for December. Not next month. Next month is Baba's birthday. Leave it after Baba's birthday.
What a gift you can give Swami. This is the gift he's asking for, not all the other outer tamasha. This is the gift he's asking for. But this, the pure mind, when you've decontaminated your mind and you offer that to Swami, Swami just loads of happiness, right? That's what he wants. So for the 90th birthday, that's what you want, right? He said, Swami, here's my 12 seconds away. You got this under control. Right? So you're doing it for yourself, of course, right? You can't give Swami anything, he's given you everything. So what's the point? But this is what you want. Offer that pure mind. You know, Swami says we offer the fruit and the leaves and the water. Well, that's what it is. It's like the decontaminated mind is what you can offer to Swami. So turn it with love and you've achieved your life's purpose. Okay. So this process is quite important. You can start practicing from tonight. And I suggest don't use those big candles. As it's hollow, you can't see the flame, and this is like a perfect one. You can see the full flame, and it's easy enough to.
But the ordinary candle.
They don't work too well.
An ordinary clay lamp and, with oil in
You
it.
can do that. That's also a good one to use.
The clay lamp.
Yeah.
You
can do that as well. Right. Whichever, it's a flame that you just want a flame as long as it works for you. And be consistent with it. It's the consistency that's going to give you the outcome that you want. Right? Twice a day is the minimum. You can do a third one in the day somewhere, even better. If you really want to move it and accelerate it, then practice more often in the day. Just 2 minutes at a time. Doesn't even have to be 2 minutes. Remember that the unit we're working with is 12 seconds. So if you can do half a minute, which is like, say, 36 seconds, you do 3 of those, and see if you can hold it steady, that's an achievement already. Okay? Right, so we're going to end there. That's like your exercise between now and next month. Remember that mudra, that tip of your tongue at the back of your front 2 teeth. That's an important one to help the mind to settle down. Okay. Right, so I think you asked the question last session. You want to learn this last month. Okay, now you have it. Learn it properly and do it, and then you will see the value of all your other sadhana, how they will start to improve as well. Right? Because in the sadhana, anything that we do, there's 3 aspects to the sadhana. One is to learn the technique. How do you do the sadhana? The second is you have to have the experiential benefit of that sadhana. If sadhana promises peace of mind, if it promises more happiness, more contentment, then your sadhana has to get you to that point. Right? The third is that it has to manifest the actual attribute that sadhana is going to bring out from you, which is a divine quality. Right? That could be contentment, it could be peace, it could be compassion. That should start to show in your life. Right? In other words, you're manifesting your divinity. Every sadhana can do that. But for us to get to that depth of the sadhana, you need the Ekagratham. Without the Ekagratham, the sadhana doesn't work. Right? It's like having a cell phone, there's no battery. And well, you've got a cell phone, you've got a battery, but you haven't got a chip. Right? Your SIM card. Right? So when the SIM card is missing, can't do anything. So Ekagratham is the SIM card, it's the connector. It will start to enable your mind to do all of this in more with more accuracy and with more outcomes for yourself. Okay. Right, great. Thanks everybody. We're going to end with the Samastha Loka.